Let us not forget everything that happens is by the will of Allah. It's time to unite and stand, and we will be the best amongst men. It's not time to be extreme or do the unthinkable, but to stand together as one. Into Sunnah followers streaming every day, various platforms. Trust me, you'll find a way. Sunnah followers.
Okay, inshallah, we're ready. In alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salam Allah, wa rasulullah. Welcome to our series that's become such a talked about series. Our series on the heroines of Islam. And mashallah, today, for today's episode, I have a great heroine to speak about. And speaking about her, whenever her name is mentioned, we can't help but mention the name of her brother. Her brother was none other than Umar bin Al Khattab, Umar, who became the second caliph of the Muslims. Umar, radiallahu anha, who will be the second person to enter paradise after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because she was the tool used by Allah to bring Umar into the folds of Islam. So let's go over the wonderful story of this female companion. And what was her name? Her name was Faatimah, the daughter of Al Khattab. And let me put yeah, I know you guys like to make screenshot everything. I'm going to take everything else down. And hold on. For the people here in try to share you guys. Yeah, the people on Zoom to my people on Instagram. So the people on Zoom, inshallah, I'm going to share you all with oh, this is the wrong Instagram page. Oh, wait a minute. Let me read. Okay, there it is. Okay, let me make it big screen here. Hold on here. Yeah. Okay. And okay, I got that set up. All right, now let me take us all to my PowerPoint, inshallah. All right, now let's make this big screen. Okay, inshallah, everybody can see. So tonight's story is going to basically tell the story of a couple of other companions as well. Not only the story of Faatimah, the daughter of Al Khattab, but also the story of her brother and his conversion, and also the story of her husband, and also the story of a man who our prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned in other hadiths, and we're going to come upon those hadiths tonight. And her name was Faatimah, the daughter of Al Khattab. She tells us in her own words that she heard the prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, "My nation will continue to be blessed as long as the love of this world does not prevail amongst them, and as long as there is no prevalence of corrupt scholars and ignorant reciters of the Quran and tyrants. If all of these things exist, then I fear that Allah may include all the people in his punishment." This hadith is authentic. This hadith is in Sahih Bukhari. And can y'all see? The prophet is talking about us. A lot of you Muslims ask, why? Why is Allah allowing what's happening in Gaza to happen? Why is Allah allowing? We never ask why Allah allows anything. But I want y'all to pay attention to these words that Faatimah narrated to us. The prophet said, "My nation will continue to be blessed as long as they don't fall for the love of this world." We've fallen for the love of this world. He said also, as long as there are no corrupt scholars. What scholars? Most of the men pretending to be scholars today are corrupt. 97% of the men and women that you all think are scholars are nothing but beggars, in it for the fame. They issue fatwas that go against what Allah says, that go against what the prophet said. I keep telling y'all, the true scholars of this nation are few. There's only a handful. And also he said, when the people who recite the Quran are ignorant, that means that they memorized it and they can recite it, but they don't know what they're saying. Isn't that most reciters today? People are learning how to recite the Quran as children, but ask them what they're saying. They don't know. They don't know. I just was beaten and taught to recite. And look at the Muslim lands. The Muslim lands are all run by tyrants. Well, the prophet said, when this happens, that's when Allah will include everybody in his punishment, the good and the bad. So that's why Gaza is happening. That's why Sudan is happening. That's why China is happening, because these are the days that our prophet said would happen. We've succumbed to the life of this world. We're ignorant of our religion. We don't know the meaning of the Quran. We don't even know the hadiths. We got men and women that we've made scholars who are ignorant. All they're looking for is money and fame. And they're issuing all kind of fatwas that go against Islam, making things haram, like beauty and makeup that Allah didn't make haram. So don't ever ask why Allah does what he does. Look around you. Look at the Muslims around you. Look at yourself. That's why. Everybody understand? Well, this hadith came from Faatimah, radiyallahu anha, the daughter of Al Khattab. Her brother was Umar, and Umar was the second caliph of Islam. And one of the good things about Faatimah Bint Al Khattab is that whenever her name is mentioned, you have to mention the story of her brother too. Whenever her name is mentioned, you have to talk about her husband. Who was her husband? Her husband was Sa'id ibn Zayd. Sa'id ibn Zayd. He was a great companion. He was one of the 10 given the good news of paradise in that hadith. And also, whenever you hear her name mentioned, you reflect upon Surah Taha, because Taha, that's the surah that brought her brother about. So to mention her name brings into existence and reminder many things, guys, many things. That's how great this woman was. And it is due to the grace and mercy of Allah that because of her, her brother Umar became one of the great ones of this nation. And also through the supplication of the Prophet Muhammad, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam made dua, asking Allah to strengthen Islam by either bringing to it Umar, the son of Khattab, or Umar, the son of Hisham. Okay? So Allah brought Umar into Islam through that supplication and through the tool of his sister, Faatimah, radiallahu anha. Okay? And to properly understand her role around the Prophet, we have to backtrack and talk about, her home. First of all, there was a man named Zayd ibn Amir ibn Nufail. This man was the father of Fatima's husband, Sa'id. And we've talked about this man before. During the pre-Islamic era, remember, he did not follow the way of the Quraysh. He was one of the few Arabs that stayed upon the religion of Ishmael, the religion of Abraham. Remember, the Quraysh, they knew about Allah because Allah sent to them Prophet Ibrahim and his son Ishmael to convey the message to them. The Prophet Muhammad's mother and father, they're kafir. They will be in hell forever because they chose to worship idols instead of stick to the way of Prophet Abraham. Well, Amir ibn Nufail was not like them. He used to stand outside the Kaaba and he used to remind the Muslims, that there's only one Allah and that he's the only one worthy of worship. But the Quraysh would ridicule him. They would ignore him. In fact, we went over the hadith from Asma, the daughter of Abu Bakr. She talks about how when she was a little girl, she remembers seeing Zayd ibn Amir ibn Nufail reclining on his back, leaning against the Kaaba. And he would say, "O Quraysh, by he in whose hand is my soul, no one from amongst you is upon the religion of Ibrahim but me." And also we have many authentic hadiths that speak about how Zayd would also speak out against them burying their daughters, because the Arabs, just like the Vikings and Romans, they would bury their female babies. And what he would do is run and try to stop the men from doing that. He said, "I'll pay for her. Don't bury her. I'll raise her myself, and I'll even give her back to you when she's grown." Okay, so Amir ibn Nufail, he was one of the few messengers. And when I say messenger, I don't mean prophet. Remember, Allah says that he sends messengers. Messengers are not all prophets. There will be no prophet after the Prophet Muhammad. But Ibn Nufail was a messenger. just like I am a messenger, just like Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid is a messenger, just like all of us Dr. Dramali is a messenger. We're not messengers of Allah. We're just callers to the truth, because that's what a messenger is. Someone who conveys the message of the truth to the people. And that's why when each and every one of us dies, and the angels pull our soul from our throat, they will say to us, didn't Allah send messengers to remind you? And you can't say they didn't, because they're going to start telling you, didn't lailanasheeba talk about this? Didn't Kareem Abu Zaid speak about this? Didn't Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atli put out books that you bought and never read? So Allah always has messengers that the people, amongst the people, to call them to the truth, although they're not prophets of Allah. Okay? So Amir ibn Nufail was a daya. He was a messenger, just like me, like I am today, and Kareem and all the rest of us. You know, he would sit outside the Kaaba trying to call the people back to La ilaha illallah. But just like people today don't listen to us, they didn't listen to him. We also have, and these are all authentic hadiths. All of these hadiths I got straight from out of Bukhari, most of them, but there are some from Muwatta and some from Muslim too. Okay, we have this hadith, whereas Zayd ibn Amir, frustrated that the people weren't listening to him, he went to Syria. He traveled to Syria asking about the true religion to see, you know, what the people were upon there. The Jews and the Christians told him that their religion, that the true religion is the religion of Ibrahim. And at that time, Zayd was not a Jew, nor was he a Christian. He held up his hand and said, "Oh Allah, I make you my witness that I am upon the religion of Ibrahim. These people are not." Okay. Also the hadith, whereas a Jew told him, do not follow our religion unless you have a share of Allah's punishment. And the Christians told him, do not follow our religion or you will have a share of Allah's curse. And we have another companion who says, I met Zayd ibn Amir when he was outside Mecca heading towards this town of Hira. And he said, Amir, I have parted ways with my people and I'm following the religion of Abraham and Ismail. Abraham, he used to pray facing the Kaaba. And I am expecting a prophet from the descendants of Ismail and from the descendants of Abdul Muttalib. And I do not think that I will remain alive till he comes. So all of this is narrated in the authentic hadiths about Amir ibn Nufail. And remember, the prophet spoke about him and said he was upon the true religion. And he tried his best to call the Quraysh back to it, but they wouldn't listen. We also have this hadith from Amir ibn Rabia. He said, when I embraced Islam, I conveyed his greeting to the prophet, and he returned the greeting and invoked the Lord to bless him and said, I saw him in paradise dragging his coattails. Talking about Amir ibn Nufail. And remember, we talked about this before. When the prophet went on his night journey and he was allowed to see different things in paradise, he saw Ibn Nufail in paradise dragging his coattails. Remember that hadith? Well, this is the same person we're speaking about. You know, he was the father. He was the father of Fatima's husband, Saeed. Also, we have this on the authority of Ibn Umar, the son of Umar. He said that Saeed and Umar asked the prophet as to whether it was permissible to ask Allah for forgiveness for Zayd ibn Amir. And of course, the Prophet said yes, because he was Muslim. So all of these hadiths, speak about, how great a man Fatima's husband, Saeed's father was. So just so you guys know, Umar's sister was married to the son of Amir ibn Nufail, the one who the Prophet said he saw dragging his coats in paradise. And also where the Prophet said we can make dua for any Muslim who has died, but not for any kafir. All right. So Saeed ibn Zayd, he was raised upon Islam. So when the Prophet Muhammad announced his prophethood, it was only logical that Saeed would embrace. Saeed became one of the first people to accept the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a prophet. Okay, so that was her husband. That was the brother-in-law of Umar. And it is from this that we're going to begin our story about her. When Saeed heard about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam announcing his prophethood, he was one of the first 10 to embrace Islam after Abu Bakr. And Fatima, the sister of Umar, she too had a good heart, and she never worshiped idols either. So she had married Saeed before the Prophet Muhammad announced his belief, and she lived just like her husband, worshiping Allah. Umar's sister never worshiped idols. Just like Khadija radiallahu anha never worshiped idols. Just like Abu Bakr never worshiped idols. Okay? Her and Saeed married because they both had that in common, and they lived together, in their home. And they tried to raise their children with not worshiping the idols either. So, of course, when the Prophet Muhammad arrived and mentioned prophethood, her and him, they were the first to embrace Islam. Okay? But they kept it hidden, just like all the Muslims did back in those days. Remember, in the beginning of Islam, when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Mecca, the Muslim people had to hide their belief, because if the Quraysh found out that you were Muslim, they would persecute you, kill you even. So Saeed and his wife Fatima, they kept it hidden. And also because of Umar. Umar was Fatima's brother. He was a leader amongst the Quraysh, and Umar used to punish the Muslims badly. Okay? But then something great happened. The Prophet Muhammad's uncle Hamza had arrived in Mecca from Syria. And when he arrived, he announced to the people of Mecca that he too had accepted Islam. And when the Quraysh and people of Mecca heard that, they were kind of terrified, because Hamza was a great warrior and a great chief leader amongst them. Well, Umar radiallahu anhu, he became Muslim, most historians believe, 3 days after Hamza. They say that this was right after the Prophet, when the Prophet had made dua asking Allah to either guide Abu Jahl or Umar. Hamza came in town, was Muslim, and 3 days after that, Allah sent Umar. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how this happened. Well, one day, Umar was sitting in the company of some Qurayshi men. They were all talking about Hamza. They were discussing how could Hamza abandon the religion of his forefathers and take on this religion of Muhammad's. So they were talking about this. And they were talking about how the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was bringing a lot of dissension amongst the Quraysh. Umar got angry. He said, who does this man Muhammad think he is anyway? He said, I'm going to end this. He said, I'm going to go and kill him. I'm going to put all this to the end. I'm going to kill him and stop all this nonsense. So Umar got up and left. He grabbed his sword, his knife, and he set out to find the prophet so he could kill him. But on his way, a man stopped him. And a man said, where you going? Umar said, I'm going to find Muhammad ibn Abdullah. I'm going to kill him. And I'm going to free all the Arabs from his trials. Because again, they could not understand why Hamza had abandoned the religion of his father. So the man looked at Umar. He said, do you think that the clan of Abdul al-Manaf are going to leave you alone if you kill him? You need to put your own house in order first, Umar. And Umar said, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And the man said, don't you know your sister and your brother-in-law, Saeed? They have been following the Prophet Muhammad since he announced his prophethood. They are secret Muslims, your own sister and your own brother-in-law. When Umar heard this, he became angry. He said, I'm going to deal with this. So he changed his direction and went to the house of his sister carrying his sword. And he was raging mad like a bull. You know, Umar was known for his bad temper. That's the same temper that his daughter Hafsa inherited. So anyway, when Umar arrived at the home of his sister and brother-in-law, he stood outside their house and he could hear some whispering, but he couldn't understand what they were saying. So he began to bang on the door and he began to shout for them to come to the door. When they heard his voice and they heard his banging, they knew he was angry. You know, everybody knew of Umar's temper. So Umar's sister, she ran in the corner of the house and she hid. She hid the script of the Quran, because that's what they were doing. Her and her husband were reading the Quran together. Remember, Umar, radiallahu anhu, was one of the few Arabs that knew how to read and write. Not only did he know how to read and write, but his sister knew how to read and write, and also all his children. Ibn Umar knew how to read and write. Hafsa was the only wife of the Prophet. Not even Aisha knew how to read and write, but Hafsa did. She learned it from her father. And so Umar's sister Faatimah knew how to read too. And that's what she and her husband were doing. They were reading the Quran. And so when she heard her brother screaming and shouting at the door, she hid it. Okay? She hid it. And then they let him in. They let him in the house because they knew if they didn't, he was going to break it in. And when she opened the door, he asked, what was this murmuring I heard you say? And they both said, we weren't murmuring, we weren't whispering, we weren't doing anything. We're just enjoying our home. And then Umar began to yell at them. And he told them, I'm not crazy. Either tell me what you were reading or I'm going to get angry. And that's when Faatimah confronted her brother. And she said, okay. She said, I was reading the Quran. She said, and I testify that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. And as soon as she said that, Umar ran to her husband, Sa'id, threw him on the floor and began beating him. He was going to kill him. Faatimah ran to defend her husband, and Umar slapped her to get her out the way. He slapped her so hard that her face began to bleed. And it was when he saw the blood on his sister's face that he realized he had done something really bad, because despite his anger, he loved his sister. Umar was close to his sister. So he stopped and he picked her husband up off the floor. And then he went over to his sister and began to wipe the blood off her face. And then he calmed down and he said to Sa'id, he said, tell me, what was it that you two were saying? And that's when his sister went and got the script that she had hid. And it was the beginning of Surah Taha. So that's why whenever we mention her name, we think about Taha, because that's the surah she and her husband were reciting when Umar heard them. So Umar asked her, he said, can I see it? Can I read it for myself? At first she said no. She said, because she didn't know if he was serious. But when she looked in his eyes and saw that he was serious, she told him to go clean yourself first. She said, in order to read the book of Allah, you have to be in a state of purity. So he went and washed his face and washed his hands and washed the blood off of him and the dust off his arms, as she told him to do. And then he came back to her and she allowed him to read. And so he read the first verses of Taha, and that's when it moved his heart. That's when Umar's heart was moved. He recognized the truth, that these were the words of Allah, that these were not the words of a madman, that these were not words written by any human being. And after reading those verses, he asked his sister, where is Muhammad? And again, she and her husband were afraid to tell him. But again, he said, please tell me, I'm not going to hurt him. He said, I'm not going to hurt him. I need to meet with him. I feel pulled and drawn towards him. So again, Faatimah looked in her brother's eyes, and she was able to recognize that he was truthful. So she and her husband told him that the Prophet Muhammad was at the house of Arqam. That's where the Prophet would meet with his followers to teach them the Quran and stuff. Okay. And that's when Umar decided, well, take me to him. I want to go see him. And that's when he was told, rejoice, O Umar, you have been blessed with the prophet's supplication. He made supplication a few days ago. He said, I heard him making supplication a few days ago, asking Allah to strengthen Islam by either bringing you into it or Abu Jahl, whichever one was better. And that made Umar happy. He said, really? He said, yes. And it seems Allah chose you over Abu Jahl. And that did something to Umar. He said, I'm better than Abu Jahl? And that's when Umar said, take me to Muhammad. Please take me to him. And that's when they did. Okay. Umar left the house of, he left for the house of Arqam. And he arrived at the house of Arqam. And when the companions saw him coming, they became terrified and worried because, again, Umar was known for being abusive, just like Abu Jahl. They were horrible towards the Muslims. So when the companions saw him coming, they were confused and scared and said, "Oh, prophet, it's the son of Al Khattab." But the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew that this was Allah answering his supplication. And that's when the Prophet told them, "Let him through. Let him through." As Allah says in the Quran, and the interpretation of the meaning, when my servants ask you, Muhammad, about me, tell them I am close to them with my knowledge, and I respond to the invocations of the person that calls upon me. So let them obey me and believe in me. So the Prophet knew that this was Allah's response to the supplication he had just made 4 days ago. He made that dua 4 days ago. His cousin, his uncle Hamza converted the day after he made it, and 3 days later, here's Umar. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded the door be opened for Umar, and when the door was opened by Ibn Abbas, the Prophet went outside and grabbed Umar and by the collar of his garment and said, "O son of Al Khattab, what are you waiting for? It's about time that you converted to Islam." Subhanallah. And that's when our beloved Umar took his shahada and became Muslim. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. In fact, Umar, with humility and submission, said, "I testify that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, and that you, Muhammad, are his true messenger." And all the Muslims there were so happy. They raised their voices in takbir. His sister was happy. Her husband was happy. Umar's father was happy because Umar's father had hid in her house, afraid that his son might kill him. But Umar's father was the one that told him, "I heard the Prophet make dua asking Allah to guide either you or Abu Jahl." So Umar's conversion became a victory for the Muslims. Allah strengthened him with Islam, and Allah strengthened Islam with him. And with Umar's acceptance of Islam, the call of Islam came out of secrecy. No longer did the Muslims have to hide in the house of Arqam because Umar dared the Quraysh to do anything to anybody. Allah made a clear distinction between truth and falsehood with him. And that's why anytime we mention Faatimah Bint Al Khattab, this whole story comes up. Because indeed, Allah chose her to be the means by which her brother accepted Islam. And her home became the starting point for this great man's change of heart. And that's the story of Faatimah Al Khattab. And also, guys, she too was given the good news of paradise, just like her husband, just like her brother. Alhamdulillah. So that's the story of Faatimah Al Khattab. And see, as you can see, guys, the thing that I really want all of you to understand, all of you women listening to me, all of you women following me, I want you all to understand that nowhere does Allah say that because we are women that we are inferior. We're not inferior mentally. We're not inferior spiritually. We're equal to men on those levels. Some of us are better than men. All of these female companions are better than any man on this earth. No mufti, no sheikh, no imam holds a candle to Faatimah Al Khattab or any of these women. And I want you sisters to also see, nowhere does Islam say that we are invisible. These women were there from the beginning of Islam, and they will be there to the end. Because if I'm one of them, I'll be right there with the Mahdi, right there with Jesus to the end, until that virus takes the believers out. So nowhere does Allah say that women are not important, that we don't have a role, that we're supposed to be as if we don't exist. Allah didn't make any mistakes in his creation. We are not part of the jinn. We are part of human. We are of mankind. We are of the seen world, not the unseen. The question is, are you going to be remembered for your seen good actions like Faatimah Al Khattab was? Are you going to be remembered for your seen good actions like Salama, Aisha, and all of them were? Will you be remembered like Sulaim, Ammar, and them were for their seen good actions? That's the question. All right, I'm going to stop right here. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Are there any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Yeah, like Sister Jamila said, never give up making dua for your family. This is another lesson learned too, the power of supplication. The Prophet Muhammad supplicated. Allah will answer, like he says in that verse, he'll answer the supplications. Never stop making dua for your family members. The ones that are not Muslim and the ones that are not practicing, never lose hope. Never stop making dua for them. Because Allah is the only one that can change the heart of man. Everybody understand that? All right. Any other questions or comments? And I apologize for being late with the class. I had to do the PowerPoint. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, not Santisha. What was her name? Yeah, Santisha. I think she put something up about an hour ago. She said, is it best to ask questions from Zoom Room or YouTube? I asked a question from the previous class on Mixcloud, but my question wasn't answered.
Oh,
normally
tell her I can't. Oh, where's she at? I can't see on Mixcloud. Mixcloud, anybody that's watching me on Mixcloud, I can't see anything you type. I can only see on, let me put it up here again. I can only see on, wait a minute, move that. I can see on Twitch, DLive, Trovo, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and Twitter. But I cannot see on Mixcloud. That's the thing. Yeah, remind me that let the people know if they're on Mixcloud, I can't see what they type. But I can see on those other platforms, just not Mixcloud. That's why I logged in on Instagram today too. I can see you guys on Instagram too. Yeah, let me type. Yeah, I can see Instagram. Yeah, see, there it is. Yeah, any other question? Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I just had a comment. It was when you talk about this relationship between Umar and his sister, and how their relationship and the love for his sister, even though he was so gung-hung and adamant on going against the Muslims, but Allah used that very moment in the moment of his anger and trying to discipline his sister in, that quick regret, looking at his sister crying and how he hurt her.
Yeah.
And in that moment of committing something so atrocious to someone he loved, turned him into someone that everybody began to appreciate, love, honor, and just outright, have so much reverence and respect for. And, within that and seeing that example that, we may all go through some hardships and all go through some things that hurt us, but in the midst, we see that Allah's hands are at work. Allah's wisdom is at work, you know, and we trust in that, and we put that before anything, because through each of these examples, using the companions, you know, the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's always an incident that we look back and we're like, whoa, Allah, you know, he's all knowing, you know, he is, you know, ahead of everything. Like, we plan, but Allah is the best of planners. But then it's like we look at the story, and, you know, we, at the same time, we get the aha moment that look how Allah works beforehand. Like, he was on his way to cause damage to someone. And if somebody says, hey, you know, you need to look at your family first, like, you kind of feel like you kind of hurt. Like, what are you talking about? I'm going to prove you wrong. But then when he's marching, he got all this rage inside of his heart. He's about to set the record straight. He was adamant on, on the whispering and the what is it called again? Just being, letting it be known that, hey, you keep saying that you were not coming across like you were reading, being suspicious, and his suspicion. And in his pushing and being suspicious, this great revelation, and discovery came about because, we look at Umar, the whole basis for the Quraysh was like, you know what, we have to get Muhammad out of here. We have to he's messing with our pride, our money, our status. And you got Umar in the midst. He's educated, he's strong, he's tall, and I mean, that's a beautiful thing, because at that very moment, my reflection is he had all of that in the background. And some people would be like, you know what, my ego's first. But Allah is the one that changes the heart. And within a split second, all of that flipped within the anger to the reading of the Quran, that revelation within that, to saying from that, I'm going straight into my conversion, going to the Prophet. And the Prophet was like, you know what, I made my supplications for this, and everything is coming into fruition. And I could only imagine, how that moment was. And it's just like, it takes me back, and it kind of makes me emotional. And I feel like, you know what, when you are getting to know more of Allah and getting to know more of the people that he blessed and he revealed this beautiful thing to, it's, as a believer, it's gonna make you emotional, because you could put a little piece of yourself in each of their story and walk with them wherever they went and felt every situation that they went through. So, because you're human, you share a commonality with them, So I just wanted to bring that I just wanted to bring that very point across, because once again, these are the female companions, and you see how that, twines into the man.
And remember too, the women that they kept open, back in those days, they didn't let women, they only allowed us, if they allowed any female babies to live, they were for a purpose, and so and those girls trained. Umar's sister trained with him, and there was a special connection between who was their spar partner, who was there, who trained you. Like Salama had that connection with Khalid bin Walid, because that was her spar. Umar was crazy. He was protective of his sister, because back in those days, a woman was either a prostitute, was prostituted, or a bedmate, So the women that they allowed to live, they were very protective of. So when he saw that blood come from her face, that's what snapped him. He said, oh no, because all his life he had been guarded to protect her, because they didn't, she's to live. She's to keep our progeny going. They would allow maybe 1 or 2 girls to live to keep the progeny going, because women can have the babies, not men.
I had a question. We knew Umar to be a very tall, strong man. Were there in his family other family members? Like, for her, was she like a strong, like in physique?
All his family was. His sons, even Umar was. All of them were. Yeah. His daughter, Hafsa, she was heavy-handed. That's why people ran for her. She could punch a hole through a wall. Yeah, his whole family. He come from a family of warriors. They were warriors. All of them. His sons, his grandsons, all of them. His daughter, Hafsa. Hafsa was on the battlefield too, remember? She fought too. She wasn't sitting at home licking no puss either. She was skilled with a sword too, just like her brothers were. Yeah, all of them were. To be honest, all these people were strong, because back in the dark ages, only the strong survived. If you were weak, you wasn't going to make it. Abu Bakr was strong. All of them were strong. The weak didn't make it in those days. Yeah. Yeah. Sister, how many women were promised paradise? I want y'all to know there were thousands of companions. A lot of Muslims today think that there were only 10 companions, or there were only 100. There were over 10,000 companions. I don't even know how many there were. There were thousands upon thousands upon thousands of companions, and all of them will be in paradise. That hadith that speaks about those who won't be held account, those 75,000 people that will enter paradise without being held accountable. Allah tells you in the Quran, most of them are from the first generation of Muslims. Only a few from the later. So there were thousands of companions. I can't tell you how many. And there were women, as you guys can see. For every man, there was a woman. These women will be in paradise too. For every man, there were at least 2, 3, 4 women. Probably more women than men. There's probably more women that'll be, well, there is. The Prophet Muhammad told us there'll be more women in paradise than men. Especially when you count the Heroine. So I don't know. It's thousands of women, but mostly from the early generations. That black woman that had epilepsy, the prophet said she's a woman of paradise. That other black woman that used to clean the mosque, she's of paradise. So for every man, there's 2, 3, 4 women. So it's a lot of women that'll be in paradise. More women than men. That's the truth that you don't hear the brothers talk about. You hear them talk about how there'll be more women in hell. That's true. But there'll also be more women in paradise too. So it's a lot of them. All these companions will be in paradise. All of them. Because they're all of those 75,000. 75,000 altogether. Okay. All right. So where do I get my hijabs from? These hijabs that I've been wearing are from Pasha, Jamila Pasha. She's not selling these though. She's selling the other stuff. These are all from Jamila Pasha. Make sure y'all check out Jamila Pasha. That's where I get all my hijabs from. The ones she's selling today are good too. I got some of them too. Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, one more. We at the end of the month, everyone. If you're benefiting from the wonderful dawah, which I am, and my family is also, they really, really are, and your family is also, please donate to Sunnah followers. We got so much more in store, so much more in store. And once again, so much more in store. So don't be shy with your pocketbook and your wallets. Reach in to giving. All right? That's just my love. That's not just have to throw that in there.
Oh, wow. SubhanAllah. Yeah, guys, please support this dawah effort. We need some donations to help cover our website expenses. Oh, God. Did I freeze up? I keep forgetting when I'm streaming on this computer, I can't look at my desktop. I was looking at my desktop and I froze up. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Please support this dawah effort, guys. Are there any other questions? Okay, guys, I'm going to close out for right now. Inshallah, tomorrow, don't forget that tomorrow we have the 6 o'clock class, and I will give you guys a quiz after tomorrow's class. I didn't give y'all one today or yesterday. I gave it before because I wanted to do it this way. I'm just trying something different with you guys. But tomorrow, make sure for the 6 o'clock class, the diluting wella well better. That's the class on diluting wella well better. Please make sure you guys read pages 53 through 50. Was it 55? No, 55 through 59. Or was it 53 through 55? 53 through 55, I think. And I'm going to review that with you guys tomorrow and give you a quiz on that. Okay? And you know I'm going to ask about that fitra again. I'm always going to ask about the fitra until I can get everybody that can give the answer correctly, like the sister today and yesterday did. So that's the 6 o'clock class. And then at 9 o'clock, we have the hadith. And don't forget Friday. This Friday, we have the Islam Q&A show. Any questions y'all have about Islam, bring them. Do I have a new thing on here? Let me see if this is the new one. Did I make a new one?
Join us every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern for the Access to Layla live call-in and answer show. Please join Ustada lailanasheeba. If you have any questions in regards to this theme, call in at 862-370-2838. Now streaming on various platforms right here on Sunnahfollowers.
I forgot that one, Geechee. Yeah, we got to ask Sister Layla. Layla. Oh, I like that. I want to thank Sister Geechee, guys, for putting all our jingles together, our little Rough Rider, the little DMX from out of Brooklyn Rough Rider, Geechee. I like that. I forgot that one, y'all. Did I upload that one to TikTok too? Is that on TikTok? That shit. Naruto. Where's Naruto? They handle TikTok. Is that one on TikTok, family? Let me see. Let me see if I got that on TikTok, y'all. Because I think everything's on there. Let me see. TikTok. Ask Sister Layla. Yep, let's see. Is this it?
Assalamu alaikum. This Friday for the Access.
Oh, that's Sheikh Moore. Yeah, it's on there. It's on TikTok. That's Sheikh Morsi's. Okay, that's Sheikh Morsi's on there. I'll upload it to TikTok.
Yeah, you have one for I made another one for you for the show with just you. Yeah.
I'll put that on there now. In fact, I'm gonna upload that now. I'll upload that to TikTok now. Yeah, but everything else is on TikTok. I like that. Ask Sister Layla. So make sure y'all spread that around. When I upload that to TikTok, and it is on YouTube, I think. I'm going to put it on YouTube again. Please share it to everybody on y'all's subscriptions so they can come in here and ask their questions about Islam, inshallah. And don't forget to share with them about this one with Dr. Jamali and Brother Muhammad. Let me play this one. Share this one too, guys.
Talk about Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Guys, mark your calendars. Friday, February 2nd, 2024, from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Eastern. We have a special presentation by Muhammad Ziada, who works with the Broward County Sheriff's Department in Florida. We also have a special co-host, our very own Dr. Ibrahim Jamali. The special topic is the impact of social media upon this nation and how to climb out of its web. How to prevent social media from destroying you and your family, and how social media destroys marriages. Also, how we should not use social media as a format for looking for marriage. So tell a friend to tell a friend about this special presentation streaming right here on Sunnahfollowers.
I really like those. Yeah, so that's the talk. Let's talk about it. We're going to talk about the dangers of social media. That's February 2nd, Dr. Ibra.
Talk about.
I don't have a picture of Dr. Jamali by itself. That's Dr. Ibrahim Daramali and Brother Muhammad Ziada. Let me upload their picture up here. Oh, you know what? I tried to upload it and it was too big. I remember what happened with that picture. Yeah. That's February 2nd, guys. That's going to be a good one. A good one for the kids. My God, I got a lot of questions about that one too. So please share our stuff with everybody, guys. Yeah, what's the question, Brother Sadiq? You got a question? Go ahead. What's that in your hand? A dog? What you holding a pit bull for? Do you remember the question yesterday? The hadith class yesterday, Brother Sadiq? What you holding that ugly pit bull for? It's ugly. Let me tell you about a pit bull. My crazy daughter didn't listen to me. She had a pit bull. You know what it did? It bit my grandson's face almost off. He had to have plastic surgery. And my ex put that dog down. Y'all better leave them dogs alone, especially them ugly pit bulls. Yeah, what's your question, Sadiq? Go ahead. Get rid of that pit bull. It's a jinn. If you just started making salad again, do you have to do makeups for it? No. This is a good question. This is a very good question that a lot of the new Muslims ask too. And I meant to answer that the other day. When Sheikh Morsi was here, that's one of the questions that somebody had, but he left. You cannot make up any missed prayers. Because you cannot, as Ibn Abbas radiallahu anha said, you cannot change the hands of time, basically. So you can't make up any missed prayers. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the only excuse for missing a prayer is either you overslept or you were so busy that you forgot to pray. In that case, he said, pray as soon as you remember and pray as soon as you wake up. But for any prayers you did in the past, there's nothing you can do except repent. Yeah, exactly. Just ask Allah to forgive you and be determined to never miss another prayer. And then you can do sunnah prayers. You know, the good deeds we do help make up for the bad deeds. Or you can give in charity and things like that. Good deeds. But no, you can't make them up. Yeah. Now, as far as the dog, let's look at that old ugly dog you got there that bit my grandson's face off. Oh, yeah. It bit his lips off. He had to have his lips sewed back on and all that plastic surgery. What you got that dog for? How you hunting when you can't even get on your back? Hello, Brother Sadiq, you using that pit bull to hunt with? Them things is terrible. I don't like them. They tore my grandson's mouth up. But he looks good now after all that plastic surgery. But when you get close up on him, you can still see it. You can still see the stitches when you get close up. But I said the good thing is he's a boy. When he becomes a man, he'll get a beard and a mustache. It'll cover it. But my daughter felt guilty about that. I said, yeah, you see why you want to disobey Allah, and Allah got your behind. What you doing with this dog? He ugly. And he stink. And he'll turn on you. Pit bulls, 9 times out of 10, they turn on their owners. That's a fact. 9 times out of 10, they turn on you. They gin. I hate them. Better get rid of that dog. You're crying because you're on your back on your salat. Oh, subhanAllah. Yeah, well, if you're making your prayers, you know, if you can only lay on your back, Brother Sadiq, just pray on your back. I mean, Allah doesn't make this religion hard on any of us. Oh, now you're back on your prayers. Okay, good. MashaAllah. And he said he's back praying. Good. Alhamdulillah. Try not to mess up again. You know, everybody's human. You know, people go through changes and they end up repenting. So Allah forgives all sins. Just keep it moving. Just try to make your prayers now. Don't let nothing get in the way of your prayers. And I know it's hard because I'm a woman and it's hard for me, but I do it. I oversleep. I wake up and make it up. Sometimes I get busy and forget, but when I remember, I make it. Yeah, get them prayers together. Yeah, any other questions?
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Layla.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yesterday I went to a janaza.
Who's janaza now?
It was someone that I knew. My grandson's stepfather. He was coming home from work. I think I told you about that. He was coming home from work and he started feeling sick and he pulled over to the side of the road and he died.
That's what you went today?
No, yesterday.
That's why you weren't here yesterday. Okay, yeah, everybody was wondering what happened yesterday.
Yeah, it caught me by surprise. I wasn't expecting it, but you know, he just pulled over to the side of the road
and just died.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, guys. Life ain't guaranteed. Y'all see that? People pulling over and just dying on the side of the road. Lord have a mercy. You never know when your clock is up.
Yeah.
You got to have them prayers together, brothers. You sisters too, y'all better put them hijabs on and start practicing your deen. Pull over to the side of the road. Next thing you know, you done. It's over. Party out. Beam me up, Scotty. Stick a fork in her. She done.
That's something. It was really something.
Seriously, stick a fork in me. I'm done. I mean, that's what I went through that the other day. Though seriously, I was eating. You know, I had to be careful when I'm chewing food. Y'all know I told y'all it goes that wrong way. So I was eating whatever that stuff is I was eating, and it got caught in my throat. I couldn't breathe. Y'all should have seen me running through the house. I was like, beam me up. I swear, Latifah, I thought I was dying. The food got caught in my throat. I was running through the house trying to hit myself on the counter, the granite counters. I was like, beam me up, stick a fork in her, she done. I fell on the floor, I got up, I hit the counter, hit it, then it finally came out. A piece of ground beef. I said, oh my God, beam me up, Scotty. Stick a fork in her, she done. And my cats are running around with me. We all running in circles. Death can come. It sounds funny now, but it wasn't funny when it happened. I said, Lord, if I die with a piece of meat in my throat, oh my God, ground beef. I was eating spaghetti. You know, I got to be careful when I chew because of my tonsil stuff. So I got to chew my stuff real slowly and all that dumb stuff. Yeah, we gotta be careful. You never know when it's gonna be lights out.
Just like that. And you know what he died of?
What did he die from? Did they find
heart disease.
Wait a minute, how old was he?
He was young to me. He always looked young. I guess close to 40.
Oh, he wasn't even 40?
Uh-huh.
And he had heart disease that young.
Yeah.
Oh my God! In the law, you're gonna lay Heroine.
They said that he was driving home on his way from work, and he was feeling kind of sick, so he pulled over, and that was it.
Was he Muslim?
Yes.
Oh, oh my God! The whole thing. In the law, in the lay Heroine, coming home from work.
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh my God. That had to be painful. Your heart hurting too. I heard a heart attack that's painful too.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. In the law, in the Heroine, he was young if he wasn't even 40 years old. I think it's the food we eating.
Yeah. I think so too.
We don't get enough exercise as Muslims, and we don't eat properly. And so you got kids in their 30s and 20s with heart disease.
Yes, I was reading about that a couple of days ago. It was saying that young people, very young people are dying from heart disease. They're young.
We got to get it together, people. We got to take better care of ourselves. We have to eat more healthy and live more healthy, Oh my God. I hate to hear that somebody, not even 40 dying of heart issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, subhanAllah. Okay, guys, for those of you on YouTube and Facebook, I'm getting ready to log out. Inshallah. We'll be in the Zoom room if anybody has any other questions. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu